Well, hello again and welcome back to our study of the Psalms. We're in Psalm chapter 29, and Psalm 29 is 11 verses of pure praise. David does not ask for anything from God until the very last verse. He's not asking for rescue from his enemies. He's not asking for deliverance from his sins. He's not calling out his innocence or calling out the sins of the people who attack him. Instead, what flows from his mouth is unapologetic praise. And the language he uses is connected to his surroundings and may not always make sense to us as he talks about cedars of Lebanon and calves skipping around. But to those who lived where David lived, these would have been powerful metaphors of the power and majesty of God. So let's take a second and read Psalm chapter 29 together. Ascribe to the Lord, O heavenly beings. Ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Ascribe to the Lord the glory due His name. Worship the Lord in the splendor of His holiness. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. The God of glory thunders. The Lord over many waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. The voice of the Lord breaks the cedars. The Lord breaks the cedars of Lebanon. He makes Lebanon to skip like a calf and Sirion like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord flashes forth flames of fire. The voice of the Lord shakes the wilderness. The Lord shakes the wilderness in Kadesh. The voice of the Lord makes the deer give birth and strips the forest bare. And in His temple all cry, glory. The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord sits enthroned as King forever. May the Lord give strength to His people. May the Lord bless His people with peace. So there it is. What does it mean to ascribe something to the Lord? The New Living Translation, instead of using the word ascribe, says the word honor. Honor the Lord. And I think that helps us understand a bit better what David is getting at. And so David begins by calling on all the angelic hosts, and included in that would be all of us who are not angelic, to give God what He is due. And what does He do? Honor. He is worthy of honor because of His incredible glory, because of His might and strength. He is worthy of honor because of His holiness, those first two verses say. And after the opening cry to honor God, David begins to think about the powerful voice of God. And so 7 times in 7 verses, David is going to mention the voice of the Lord. Now, I don't have any scriptural evidence for what I'm about to share with you, but I do want to share with you the picture that I have of what caused David to write this psalm in the first place. I picture David watching a storm in Israel from the balcony of his palace. I picture him seeing the flashes of lightning that light up the night sky. He hears the booming thunder and he feels thunder rumble through his kingdom. You know, we had a storm like that here in North Alabama not too long ago. Thunder that rumbled for what felt like minutes. Lightning lighting up the sky like the 4th of July, and mighty wind blowing through the trees. You couldn't miss it, right? Powerful is the right word to describe it. I remember when I was coming out to Florence, Alabama to go to school from Yuma, Arizona, and we had to go through Oklahoma, and it was, as we hit Oklahoma City, the most incredible storm I've ever been a part of. When the lightning hit, it lit up the night like it was the daytime. It was daytime in the middle of the night. And I had never seen a storm like that before. Absolutely powerful and majestic, scary and yet awestruck at the same time. But David, we need to know this, is no weatherman. He's not thinking about how this storm system ran into another high pressure system that led to this. That's not what he's concerned about. He looks at what's going on around him and he declares that God is the one behind it all. He is the one who brings the thunder. He's the one that brings the rain. He's the one that brings the mighty wind. He's the one in charge of these storms. And just as He shows His power by the storm, He can also show His power by His dominance over those storms. I love that. And so after talking about this powerful and majestic voice of God, David declares the Lord is King. And I think this is significant. Here is the King of Israel, the most powerful person in the land, the victorious warrior, the dominant military power of his day. And he says all the real power rests with God. David recognizes that his power, his might, whatever that might be, is simply borrowed from the one true King. And that one true King is God. And so he finishes this psalm with a prayer request. He says, God, give strength and bless your people. David knows where true strength comes from. He was a mighty king. He was a powerful king. He had great armies and thousands upon thousands of soldiers, but he knew that his strength was not found there. And he knew that his strength could not compare to that of God. And so he wisely asks at the end of this psalm for strength and blessing from the source of strength and blessing. Could you use a little of that strength today? I want you to know it's available to you as well. You need the blessing of God today. He is still in the blessing business, and so cry out to Him. Stand in awe of His power and ask for His strength and blessing to come to you. James reminds us that sometimes we don't have what we need because we don't ask God for it. Jesus reminded us when He walked the face of this earth that if we will just ask, seek, and knock, that God will do what only God does. He will hear, He will answer, and He will open. So ascribe to the Lord glory and strength. Honor His name today by what you say and by what you do. Worship the Lord with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength because He is holy and He is worth it. Thank you for joining me for Psalm 29. Man, I hope that psalm can be a regular one in your arsenal. When things are difficult, when life is going tough for you, you can turn and hear these incredible words of Psalm 29. We'll be right back here next week for Psalm 30. Thank you for joining me today. Don't forget to head on over and look at our podcast where we dive deeper into these psalms. And I'm just so glad that you were with me today. Have a great week, and may God bless you as you strive to live for Him.